Over the years, there have been times when wrestlers confronted their real feelings in the ring. Such segments are few and far between, with some breaking down in tears. This is Wrestling Hub, and here are times when WWE stars got emotional on screen. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. On April 11th, Edge gave his heartbreaking retirement speech on SmackDown. This story traces back to his neck surgery in 2003, after which he was only wrestling on borrowed time. He was in pain and was starting to lose feeling in his arms. After undergoing tests upon WWE's official request, it became clear it was his time to retire. No athlete can easily accept premature retirement, but Edge, in his heartfelt speech, expressed his gratitude. The crowd showered their treasured heavyweight champion with praise as Edge teared up. Retiring as world champion was a strong close to that chapter. However, to the delight of fans, in 2020, he returned to WWE as a part of the Royal Rumble. On May 24th, 1999 in St. Louis, Missouri, there was a special episode, Raw is Owen, in tribute to Owen Hart, who lost his life in a fatal accident. This appalling accident is forever marked as one of the biggest failures in pro wrestling history. He had been approached by WWE at the time to pull off a stunt, which involved being lowered to the ring by cables. To everyone's horror, the cables malfunctioned and he plummeted to his death at the Over the Edge pay-per-view in Kansas City. As if it wasn't enough, WWE decided that the show must go on. His wife Martha and his family in the business are disgruntled to this day. Martha's lawsuit against WWE was settled out of court for $18 million, which was then used by the family to establish the Owen Hart Foundation. On the Raw is Owen tribute, every wrestler was emotional. Stone Cold came out to toast Owen and held up a beer with tears in his eyes, saying a final goodbye to one of the most talented stars tragically taken too soon. Retiring is an emotional experience for anyone. However, a premature retirement for one so young can be truly devastating. The two-time WWE Divas champion Paige told her fans in a heartfelt speech on the Raw after Mania that she could no longer wrestle due to neck injuries. She was only 25. After her match against Sasha Banks at a live event in New York, she underwent surgery, which meant she was unable to participate in the first Women's Royal Rumble match. The year before she retired was spent out of commission because of injury. She left her farewell speech on a positive note by saying she was going to have to go and find something else. She paid homage to all the female talent who helped build the division, with the crowd chanting "Thank you, Paige." The film Fighting With My Family, a comedy drama based on Paige and her family's life, was released on January 28, 2019. Shawn Michaels created moments to be remembered every time he entered the ring, but at WrestleManias, he was even more special. He lived up to his moniker of Mr. WrestleMania when he faced Ric Flair at Mania, where if Rick lost, he would retire. The match was emotional, with Michaels clearly struggling with the job, breaking down at the thought of being the one to retire Flair. He lined up Rick for a super kick as the Nature Boy begged him to hit it. With Flair sobbing, Michaels shed a tear saying, "I'm sorry, I love you." With those words, he hit the kick, pinned Flair, and ended his career, hugging him on the mat before walking out without celebrating, leaving Flair to take in the moment. Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero were best friends for a large part of their life. When they did appear in WWE, they were often placed together. Due to their size, despite their obvious talent, WWE did not push them immediately at a main event level. They battled and dominated the mid-card level for years, winning every title, making fans fall in love with them every day. Though tragedy awaited, Eddie would pass away after a heart attack in 2005. With the loss of his friend, Benoit found himself isolated. Adding multiple head injuries over his career, he was in bad shape. However, no one could have predicted what he did next when he murdered his family before taking his own life in 2007. Before these tragedies, there was a moment when things came together for Guerrero and Benoit. Eddie had won the WWE title from Brock Lesnar and successfully defended it at WrestleMania in 2004 by defeating Kurt Angle. Meanwhile, Benoit won the main event, defeating Triple H and Shawn Michaels to become heavyweight champion. After this enormous win, Eddie came out to celebrate with his friend and the two hugged, sobbing. The night of Ric Flair's retirement, every wrestler and his legendary opponents made their way out to bid him a final farewell. After the show, Undertaker made his way out and hugged the Nature Boy as Flair broke down. Vince McMahon would make it more special, running out and hugging a crying Flair, then raising his hand to the crowd. WWE for the longest time refused to hand Daniel Bryan any major opportunities. However, the company could not ignore his rising popularity, and at WrestleMania 30 he defeated Triple H in the first match of the main card. He won the World Heavyweight title in the triple threat main event against Batista and Randy Orton. This was to be his moment of glory, except it marked the beginning of his downfall. Several weeks after this big win, Bryan was out of commission due to a surgery he undertook to fix a nerve issue. After an 8-month hiatus, he returned in January of 2015. He could not enjoy that success as he suffered a concussion right after he won the IC title at Mania 31. Bryan was no stranger to concussions and was pulled from competition after a number of medical exams, where it was discovered he had a seizure-inducing lesion on his brain. After spending months trying to get the green light to wrestle, Bryan had no option but to retire. He offered his farewell speech on Raw in February 2016, which remains one of the most emotional moments, with Bryan's tears leading to fans breaking down. After 4 years, the 4-time WWE champion returned to in-ring action in 2020. September 11th, 2001 is a day no American can forget. Just 2 days after the appalling attack, WWE came together in Houston for SmackDown. Emotions were high, but the show went on as a demonstration of people standing up against terrorism. Vince McMahon shared a heartfelt and inspiring message. He not only offered condolences, but encouraged people to not live in fear, saying America's heart has been wounded, but her spirit shines as a beacon of freedom that will never be extinguished. Lillian recounted her memories of the fateful day and how surreal it was, sharing a story of her friend who was to have a meeting in the towers, though he fell behind schedule and bared witness to the World Trade Center being hit by planes. Lillian performed a beautiful rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner. WWE was the only organization that still went live with their show, as they were not required to cancel like the NFL and other sporting events. The fans and Lillian cried, as McMahon himself was emotional, making it one of the most memorable nights in wrestling history. Fans of wrestling took a long time to warm up to Roman Reigns. After becoming WWE's biggest active star, he sent shockwaves throughout the audience and sporting community by announcing he had leukemia at the October 22, 2018 Raw. Then 33-year-old Joe Anoa'i revealed he was first diagnosed in 2008. Despite quickly going into remission, it's been an ongoing battle. He apologized to the Providence, Rhode Island audience for not being able to be the wrestler they wanted him to be. He also announced that he was ready to give up his title since he would be stepping away from the ring. He assured fans this would not be the last time they saw him. After he shared this solemn news, Shield members Rollins and Ambrose met him on the ramp. Rollins had tears in his eyes and they all stuck their fist out in a moment of solidarity before embracing. Reigns has proved himself to be a formidable fighter both in the ring and against cancer. He was scared to lose his spirit and his health, but nonetheless in March 2019 he returned to the ring stronger than ever. This is where he finally reunited with Ambrose and Rollins. On Sunday, November 13, 2005, in a hotel room in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Eddie Guerrero was found unconscious. His nephew Chavo called it in, but Eddie had died by the time paramedics arrived. As a 38-year-old, this was an untimely death due to acute heart failure. Both Raw and SmackDown stars were slated to perform on this day, but upon discovery of this heart-wrenching news, WWE decided to go ahead with a special tribute. Vince McMahon shared with the audience that this was to be a celebration of his life. This was kicked off with a moment of silence and a 10-bell salute. Many of these stars were bawling during the video tribute, which was set to Hurt by Johnny Cash. Chris Benoit and Batista, both of whom had been really good friends to Eddie, were unable to hold it together. The video ended with a shot where Eddie is smiling. On this day, we saw multiple stars sharing their best memories of Eddie. John Cena was the first, considering Eddie was a mentor. He talked about how everyone who knew Eddie would only be able to say good things about him, and how special Eddie had been to him. JBL may have been Guerrero's rival in the ring, but he had been more outside. He spoke about how Eddie helped helped him fight his demons during a difficult phase. Batista praised Eddie and his love for the business. Cena and Batista were then world champions, and in an emotional scene, placed their WWE and heavyweight titles on Eddie's customized t-shirts. Meanwhile, his real-life best friends Benoit and Rey Mysterio were inconsolable while revisiting all these memories of Eddie. The moment can never be watched without sadness coming out, even almost 16 years from the incident. Eddie lives on in the hearts and minds of all the fans even now. And these were 10 times wrestlers got emotional on screen. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.